Okay, so yeah, so we'll start with the configuration. So I think we have seen already the setup for the requisition, but I'll just go through once again so that we don't miss anything. Okay, so that is first thing is on the requiring business unit. Okay, so the business unit that we are using is Supremo US business unit. So I'll just take this
Yeah.
one. Okay, so this is what we saw. I think we have seen it already, so I'll just reiterate once again. Okay, so this we have seen, so that is line type, and this is nothing but we saw that how to import this requisition and group it as an item. Okay, so in this case, we have selected as an item. Okay, so this is nothing but only for the purpose of grouping this requisition if I import this requisition. Okay, so let's say I have a requirement or I have a scenario, so wherein this requisition is not created directly in the system, but then it is created somewhere outside the Oracle application, which means I have third-party application. So where this requisition is created, so I import this requisition and then probably I'll convert this requisition into purchase order. Okay, so in that scenario, so how we will basically uh, group or categorize this requisition. So whether I want to categorize based on the supplier or based on the item or based on the buyer or the category. So that's the option. Okay, and these are like the defaulting options. Okay, so it could be this and this procurement view and the ship to location. So all these things are for the purpose of defaultation, but anyway we can override at the transaction level. Okay,
Yeah.
and these are the additional informations that we can capture. If I want to probably attach it here, so I can attach. Okay, so this additional information, so this could be anything. So let's say I wanted to capture my let's assume that I have this project business. So let's say I'm involved in construction business. Okay, so as part of this, so I also wanted to capture the additional information because in the project information, what I will have is that I'll have the project number, I will have the expenditure type, and the date of booking, all those information. But apart from this, so I also wanted to include my resource and the overhead charges that I'm booking. So now this could be a scenario wherein I will basically book this resources for certain expenditure and I'll book overheads for certain expenditure. Okay. So now I will have this as an optional. So if it is applicable, so I will use this particular field. Okay. So now this field will be added as an additional field. So when we say additional field, so it's the DFF that we are talking about. DFF meaning the descriptive field. Okay. So that is what is about the descriptive flex field. So now this descriptive flex field can be enabled at header, line, and the distribution. So this is not mandatory information to be given, but then we have the option. If I have this requirement, so this we are seeing as an example, but if we have the other requirement, so basically whatever the information that we are seeing it here, the application, apart from the standard fields that we are looking at, so if I want to capture the new information in the system, so then
Okay.
I can use either the header level or line level or distribution level. So
Okay.
this we will decide based on the business scenario. So in this case, so it is the project information that we are capturing. Okay, so when we
Okay.
say project information, so I will have to capture at the line level. So the reason why I will capture it at line level is that, so for one line, I will not have more than two or three distributions because it's the, when we say project related expenses, so it is one line, one distribution. So probably one header and multiple lines, but then the line will be one and the distribution is one. Okay. So now I'll be able to attach at the line level and capture those additional information. Okay. So similarly, we will have to understand what is the information that we want to capture and at what level. Okay.
Okay.
So that's about these options. So these are options. Okay. And these are certain controls that we have in terms of tolerance. Okay. And then if multiple legal entities here, so these are again the certain uh, controls that we have. Okay. So then we have the approver override. So approver override meaning, so I have approver one. So instead of sending this to approver one, so I'll send this request to approver two. So I can enable this
Yeah.
option. So this will happen if this particular manager is gone on
Right.
vacation, something like that. So
Right.
then I can enable this option. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is nothing but the internal transfer that is between the sub-inventories. Okay, so if I want to transfer between unit 1 and unit 2, so I can enable this option. So which will give me the supply availability and all those information. Okay. And then once the requisition is imported, so whether we want to create the purchase order immediately or we will do it manually. So that is this option. Okay. And then if any change order is done, so change order meaning, so I have created this purchase order with 10 quantities. So now I'm changing this quantities to 8 because vendor has said me that I'll not be able to deliver 10 quantities, so I can deliver 8 quantities. So now what I will do is that so I'll have this purchase order created for 8 quantities, and for the another 2 quantities, so probably I'll create another purchase order, so which will be given to the separate or the new supplier. Okay. So in that case, so instead of handling at the invoice level, so what we will do is that so we'll change this purchase order because this is the source document which we released. Okay, so if I change any information wherein this particular purchase order is already approved, so system will consider this as a change order. Okay, so for this, whether we need the approval for the change orders. Okay, so that's about it. So if I don't need any approval process, then I can disable this option or leave as it is.
Okay.
So probably if I need this change approval, so I can enable this option. Okay.
Okay.
So for this, we will write a rule that is the approval rules in a way that I'll say if the type is change order, so then route it for this particular manager for approval. Okay. So that is how
Okay.
we'll write. So it's just about the condition that we are writing in our approval rules. Okay. But if I want to use that particular functionality, so I'll have
Mhm.
to enable this feature
Got it.
because if I don't enable here and I write rule there, so still system is not going to route it to the manager because this option is not enabled.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's about this requisition business function. So, so the others are these things, so which we have seen already. Okay, so the next thing that we have is that the approval. So approval for the requisition. So again, as I said, so this is the same thing what we will do as a configuration, that is writing the condition and then probably getting the managers list populated, either the list or it could be the single or it could be the auto approval route. So whatever the hierarchy that we are following, so we can set it up. So in terms of configuring the approval rules, so the process still remains same. So that is, I'll just create one. So this is for position approval, and I'll just say okay. Okay. So I'll write a condition. So I'll use the same condition. So I'll say buyer. Okay, I think here we'll have the preparer but not the buyer. I think so. Yeah. So just see preparer is okay. So this is the preparer. So I'm just using this login. So the one that we created is this one. Okay. So this is one condition that we have given. So the second condition. So again, I will come to this attribute and okay, not this one. Okay, so probably I'll use this one. The item category as miscellaneous. Okay, so I have just given the simple rule. Okay, okay, I did not give the action. So for this, I will add instead of using because the approval group we have seen it already. Okay, so for time being, so what I will do is that so I'll give this as probably the supervisory hierarchy. Okay, and the level would be one, and you'll have to select the top hierarchy. So I think this is the one that we saw yesterday. Okay, so I'll just say okay. Okay, so now I'll have to make sure that for this particular preparer that is funny to this login. So Kelvin Roth is associated because unless it is associated there, so this approval will not be assigned to the manager Kelvin Roth. Okay. So that's the only thing that we should make sure. So now this will work for a scenario so wherein I have, let's say, the multiple layers of approval, but this is within the department. So if I'm looking at apart from the department, so there will be certain scenarios, so wherein this request will cross this department. So that is, I'll have procurement manager one, and then I'll have the procurement manager two, and then similarly 3 and 4. So now here as part of this process, I'll send this notification request to procurement manager one, and then I'll send this notification to the finance manager. So now this procurement manager one's manager would be procurement manager two. But then I don't want to send it to procurement manager two. So instead I want this to be sent to the finance manager, because there will be certain decisions that will have to be taken by the finance manager. Okay, so let's say that this involves the budget check. So that is, I have budget of 1 lakh. Okay, so let's say the budget amount is 1 lakh. Okay, but then I wanted to validate whether this particular budget is crossed or not. So let's say I have created a transaction to the extent of 80,000. Okay, so now I have a limit of 20,000. Okay, so considering this is my YTD, which means that yearly budget. Okay, so these are completely technical thing, but we will have to make sure that we understand this also, because we have something called fund check and purchase requisition and the purchase order as well. Okay, so now if there is any issue that has happened in this purchase requisition or the purchase order screen, so we should have some knowledge in order to tell this is the issue to the finance team. Okay, so anyway, they will have to load the budget balance and the other things, but we should make sure that we understand what is this fund check issue and all those things. Okay, so for that reason, I'm just explaining this. Okay, so now this is the
Yeah.
budget. So now this is the total transaction that we have created in the system. So this is nothing but our year, and this is nothing but the budget. Okay. So now if I create this transaction for 20,000, which means that system is going to allow me. But the same thing, so if I'm going to create it for 21,000, so wherein system will not allow me to create this particular transaction. Okay, so now this will be basically routed to the finance manager, because when we say budget, so of course it is the finance and the accounts department, so who will take care of these fund checks and whether we are creating these transactions with the sufficient funds in our system. Okay, because they'll have certain controls in terms of expenditure, because when we talk about the expenditure, it is the source transaction that comes from the procurement module. So that is the purchase order or requisition converted into purchase order. Okay. So this will be validated in our purchase requisition. Okay. So for this reason, so this will not be directly sent to the procurement manager. So instead, so this will be sent to the procurement manager one, and then this will be sent to the finance manager one. Okay, so now once finance manager one gives the concurrence, that is this can be processed, so then this will be sent to procurement manager two. Okay,
Okay.
so now this scenario will not be applicable if I'm using supervisory hierarchy, because this I'll have to create as an approval group. So I can just give the username and I can set it up the approval rules. So the sequence of approval. So this I can create. Okay. So now what we are looking at is that supervisory hierarchy. Okay. So now I cannot have this in this scenario. So it would be the procurement manager one and the procurement manager two. So this is the sequence that we can have. So now when we see it should flow in this sequence. So if it is one, so of course we can say, so this is user and we can attach directly. This is the user. Okay, so that we'll see in the next one. So we have the next transaction as well. So there you will see this scenario. So this is simple. So we are just attaching, this is the user. Okay. So now, so in this scenario, what I will do is that, so I'll just say, so let's say funny. Okay. So manager of funny would be Kelvin Roth. Okay, and Kelvin Roth's manager, so let's say stock, so in the name of stock. Okay, so now if I take this manage user, so where the employee records are created, so I will see Kelvin Roth and managers field. Okay, And then if I take Kelvin Rath, I'll see stock in the manager field. Okay, so I'll just go to the application. Okay, so this we have anyway created. Okay, so I'll just say and deploy this development. Okay, so this is done. So I'll go to the manage user task. Okay, so I'll have to change this to different user because if I use this, okay, or else I'll do one thing. So I'll just give access to stock and we'll see because in the approval group, so already we have used Kelvin Rath. So let's not use the same user. So let me try to get this username first. Let me duplicate the screen. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, so let me take this username and reset the password. Okay, so this is done. So the password reset is done. So the next thing is that so I'll have to give access. Okay, before that I'll give the procurement role. Okay, so I'll just give the same business unit access because this user doesn't have access to Supremo US business unit. So just give access to this. Okay, so this is done. So I'll just run this program and and we have deployed our approval rules that we have created. Okay, so I'll just log out once and log in. So now if I basically create this, okay, let me just do a save and close. So now if I create a requisition using this user, okay, so which should route this approval to stop basically. Okay, so that's the setup that we have done. So let me
Okay.
try to log out once and create one requisition. Okay, so yeah, it is here. So for time being, I'm selecting non-catalog item, okay, because I wanted to basically show this smart forms. Uh, okay, so smart form meaning this is what I'm referring to, smart forms.
Some sort of template.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so for which we will have to create the catalog, and from catalog we'll have to create. So there we have the local catalog and these things. Okay, so
Okay.
from there we'll have to create our categories, and then we have option to create the hierarchies. Okay, so using that we'll have to create the smart form. So for that reason, I'm avoiding this setup. Okay, so wherein I can create multiple items using that. Okay, so for now, I'll just use non-catalog items.
Uh, like what is this like? Maybe I forgot. Non-catalog item or catalog item? What is it?
Yeah, catalog is something. So here, if you see, so I have the office supplies. So this
Okay.
is nothing but the catalog items. So non-catalog items are something that I don't categorize this particular purchase or this particular purchase request that I'm raising. So, who has actual access to the requisition can create the requisition lines. So, this person can include the items. So, what is the item that he's requesting for? All those information he can do it because he will have access to the catalog. So, when we
Right.
say catalog, it's the category that we are referring to. So, if you remember, so when we created this item at the item class, so we created one catalog, so that is purchased items, and under that we created two different categories, and we attached one category with that particular item. So that is the category or the catalog that we are referring to.
Okay.
Here, we are not using that catalog which we have created there. So
Hmm.
instead, I'm saying, so this is just a transaction without catalog. So that's
Okay.
what is about the non-catalog requisition.
Okay.
Yeah, so okay, so let me just take this. Okay, so this project and the other information, so if I have it, so I can include it. Okay, So for now, I'm not including this project information. Okay, probably at later point in time. So if I want to include, so we can include this project information. Okay. So now I'm just giving this charge account. So charge account is nothing but the expense that we are incurred. Okay. So I don't think this account is there. So let me take some random expense account and we'll use that for charge account. So charge account is something that on what we are charging this expense that we are creating. Okay. So meaning, so this expense will be booked on what head. So when we say head, it is the accounting term basically. Okay. So which says that what kind of purchase or what type of expenditure that we are making here. Okay. So that's about it. So if I want to select from this list, I can select. Okay. So which defines what is the nature of expense that I'm creating here. Okay. So if I'm raising this request for probably a small expense, so let's say I have conducted this conference, so for which I will need certain items to be purchased. So now for this, I will need let's say four items. Okay, so I'll say item one, two, three, and four, and for each one of it, so I'll have to say. So it is the conference expense that I'm incurring here. Okay, so it's not always this that is conference expense. So probably it could be different also. Okay, so let's say this is not a centralized payment that we are doing it. So, or let's take the centralized payment. Okay, so in case of centralized payment, what will happen? So we will create the requisition. So this requisition will go to the head office. So someone in the head office will convert this requisition into purchase order. So once this is created as a purchase order, so then the invoice will be created for the necessary payment. Okay. So now if I want to basically categorize that, so I'll be giving it here as a conference expense because whatever the information that we are giving here, so that will flow through till the end because so this expense is captured when we create the receipt, okay? But then in the invoice or in the payment or when we clear the payment, so all those are basically the temporary accounts or the just the account that is used for the clearing purpose. Okay, so this expense is booked when we create the receipt. So that is the reason we are selecting the actual expense here. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll just say this is a conference expense and I'll just say save and close.
This is like we are not creating a requisition, is it? Because I could see that preferences, their requisition preferences.
Yeah, so it's not exactly like in requisition because the requisition is something that I'll have the categorization of the item and then I will also have the item with me. So in
Okay.
order to place the orders. So let's say even if it is a simple purchase, so I'll have office supplies
Yeah.
or if I want to give it as a specific name, so I'll say item one is this, item two is this. So similarly, I'll have the classifications are basically the nature of the item. But here
Mhm.
in this case, we are not giving that particular categorization, so we are avoiding the categorization and we are just creating as a just non-catalog item.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this is what about non-catalog request. Okay, so here if you see, so as I said, so you'll not have the item here. So instead we'll have the item description. So I'll just say the new item request. Okay,
This
and
is part of the this thing what we are saying. This is a requisition creation one, right?
yeah, correct, requisition creation.
Okay. Non-catalog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the reason why I'm specifically using this category name is that because in the approval, so this is one of the condition that we have given. Okay,
Right.
so let me just open or duplicate the screen to just cross check if this is the category name that I have given.
So,
Okay, so I'll just enable this and disable rest of the things.
if multiple rules are like here, what you have defined, if it is enabled, is it
Okay.
going to execute in order by in sequence, one by one, all the rules gets executed, or first if it is executed, then remaining what it will be done?
No, it's not considering that because if you
Okay.
see, so we actually had the previous instance, so wherein we had the serial
Right.
based approval rule, so wherein we
Right.
have created this, but then it was looking for consensus.
Mm.
So we actually disable the serial and then we created in the consensus. So it depends on the rule that is checking. So here we have the priority. Okay, so
Correct.
based on this priority, we can set it up. So in the order, but here we don't have any order to be created. So it is just checking this. So to avoid the error, this thing. So I'm just enabling only this one. So
Okay.
consensus.
Okay.
Okay, so this is done. So let me say this is let's say 2000. Okay, so either I can say this is new supplier and create the supplier details, or I can select on the existing supplier. And here the supplier information is not mandatory because when we create this purchase order, so that is when we will have to input the supplier because here, so there are two things that can happen. So either I can create this particular requisition as directly as an purchase order, or what I can do is that so I can create this as an requisition, and then I will get a quotation from multiple vendors because this depends based on the purchase that I'm making. Let's say I'm purchasing the stationery item. So let's say I'm purchasing a packet of pen or probably some item to be used for my office purpose. So now this I know I'm going to purchase it from nearby store or probably from Amazon or some other store. Okay. So now I know who's the supplier that needs to be created and I know this is the price. Okay. So based on which I'll create the request that is for one quantity. I'll set the price. Okay. And then I can say this is the supplier. So the other scenario. So let's say I'm purchasing this asset. So asset for, let's say, IT. So for IT, so I have no new employee who has joined today. So now I have already the existing employee, so who is using the laptop and desktop. So I don't have any surplus or the extra laptop to be given to this new joiner. So what I will do is that I'll raise an request, okay, so which might go to the finance department for the approval, or this might end up in the procurement team also. So there are two possibilities, okay. So now, if I'm purchasing this laptop, so it's not that I'm just going with the Dell laptop directly. So this is the model number and this is what I'm trying to purchase. So that will not be the case, and if it is the asset purchase, especially in the case of laptop, desktop, or the electronic items. So now in this case, so I will have this negotiation. So it is this option that I'll enable. So if I'm using this purchase order, okay. So now if I enable this negotiation, so which means that I'll get quotation from multiple vendors. Okay, so probably I'll get it from Lenovo, I'll get it from Asus, I'll get it from Dell and the other companies as well. Okay, so now I'll compare between the product specification and the pricing that is being given. Okay, so I'll compare and then I'll say this is the vendor that I'm going with. Okay, so now in that scenario, so I cannot say this is my supplier. If at all I'm going with the quotation, collecting the quotation from multiple suppliers, and then I confirm this is the supplier. Okay, so in that scenario, I'll not be able to basically specify the supplier. So for that reason, so we have this field as optional. So here if you see, so these are mandatory, but if you see supplier, it is not mandatory. So even if I leave this field as blank, so if I refer this particular requisition number and try to process this requisition and create the purchase order, so system will ask for the supplier when I create the purchase order. But here it is not mandatory. But if we know in advance that this is the supplier, so then we can give the supplier name here itself. Okay. Or if I want to create as a new supplier, so I can just say create and give the basic information and create the supplier. Okay.
Okay.
And yeah. Okay, and then we have the attachment. So probably if I have the quotation with me already, because I am not doing quotation thing, the quotation process in the system. So probably I have done off the system and I have the data with me. So which means the proposal or the code that I have it with me. Okay, so if I want to attach that so that the procurement manager can review that particular quotation and give us concurrence or give the approval, then I can add this as an attachment. Okay, so which I can select it from my local drive, or if I have something like an the PDF or some other format, so I can just take from this list and I can attach this file. Okay, and then I can just specify, so whether this is for the approver or this is basically internal to the requisition. So so this is optional if I want to give it. So it's only the attachment that we'll have to give. So that is mandatory. Okay. So for now I don't have attachment with me, but this is the option. Okay. So I'll just say remove, and now I can say add to cart, and I can review the requisition information that system has created. Okay.
Okay. So now, like in the, I think in the requisition configuration, we have selected create automatically PO, or so
Yeah,
whenever we
create
create a
automatically.
requisition,
Yeah, create
PO will get
automatically.
created.
Yeah,
Okay.
create automatically PO. So there is a process called process requisition. So if we do that, so automatically the purchase order will be created.
So now for this purchase order is also created. Like the moment
Yeah,
you
purchase.
complete.
I mean, we'll have to get this requisition approved. So
Yeah.
then we have process called process requisition. So that will
Okay.
create the purchase order automatically.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so this is added. So now this is kind of an hyperlink, so which will take us to the reviewing the requisition information. Okay, so if I know this is the one that I want to submit, so simply I can say submit. So which will create the requisition and submit it for the approval. If I want to review this information, so I can say review. Okay, so which will give the information at high level. Okay, so here if you see, so this is the description that we gave and quantity and the price. So all those informations are whatever we have given.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same thing that we are doing this. Okay, so I'll just say save and submit. Okay, so this is the requisition number. So similar to the purchase order. So this will also take 30 seconds to 40 seconds to process and send it to approver. Okay, so
Okay.
let me just go back to this screen, transaction console, and check if it is assigned. Okay, it hasn't assigned yet. So this is the requisition number, that is 381663. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so now we have submitted this requisition for approval. So if I want to change any information in this screen, so I'll not be able to change it. So for which I will have to basically withdraw this request and then I'll have to create it. Okay, so for which I'll have to click this option called withdraw and edit. So unless I do withdraw, so it will not allow us to edit any information in this field. Okay, and then this reassigning. So reassigning we are getting here because we enable that option of overriding the approver. Okay, so if I don't do it, so probably I'll not have option to assign it to someone else. Okay, and duplicate is something that I wanted to create replica of this transaction. So if I want to probably copy this, so instead of creating it every time, so if I want to copy this, so I can do this. Okay. So view PDF is kind of an view screen. So this page or this PDF file can be customized. Okay, so we have something called BA Publisher. So using that, so we can customize this screen, but this is standard Oracle's screen. So
Okay.
if we want to circulate this requisition number, so inside our department, so probably different managers will check for the document. So wherein we can use this approval hierarchy that is defined, so manager can go to the application and see that. But for India scenario, if you see, so there are certain customers who still uses this paperwork. So though they have system with them, so they refer to the paperwork for their auditing and the compliance requirement. So they have it in the paper. Okay. So they will have their own format. So they will give us the format. So in that format, we'll have to get this particular report deployed. So now here, if you see, so we have this PDF copy. So now if I go to this view PDF, so I'll see this standard one. So instead of standard one, I'll have to replace in the folder. So when we say folder, it is the technical consultant will deploy this VA publisher report in that particular path. Okay, so once that is deployed, so if I click view PDF, so which means that that custom report format which we got it from the
Yeah,
customer, so that is the
yeah,
one that we'll see it here. Okay.
right.
Yeah, so let me just check once more. I think it is still processing. Yeah, so this has been assigned to Helen Stark. So Helen Stark is the manager that we created. Okay, so we have resetted the password as well. So let me try to log out from this user and try to log in using Helen. So now Helen should have received the request to approve the requisition. Okay, okay, this is the one. Okay, so this is Helen Stark's log. Yeah, so this is the one. So that is 381663. Okay, so now we have the requisition that is approved. Okay, so I'll just log out from this login and I'll log in using Bunny. So now I should be able to see the status as approved. Okay, so if that is approved, then we can create yeah, so then we can create the purchase order. That means we'll process the purchase order, so which will automatically create the purchase order for us. Okay, so I'll just check once the status of yeah. So we can see here. So the status has changed to approved. Okay. So now if I go to this screen and if I try to do the changes. So in this case, I'll have to again do an edit and make the changes because the status is already approved. Okay. So now I'll just go back to the screen, the purchase order. Okay. So here, if you see, so we have option called process requisition. Okay. So now we till now we have created a purchase order using this option create order, which means we created the purchase order manually, but this
Yeah.
we don't want to create it manually, so we wanted to process through requisition. So I'll just say this is process requisition.
Okay, unless we process, it will not create automatically.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to process it and add to the document builder, so which will create the purchase order automatically.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just give the requisition number and let's see, search. Okay, so this is not buyer actually. Okay, so this is the requisition number which we create. So we can just verify this and I can say add to builder. So in case I don't want to have this as an purchase order, so I can say simply return this. Okay, RVSA. So returning is something that I'm denying this PO creation process. Okay, so that's the option. So what I will do is that, so I'll say add to document builder, so which will basically create the purchase order.
Okay.
Okay. So here, if you see, so we have either the option to select the existing order or the new order. So if the purchase order is new, sorry, the existing purchase order, but then I wanted to add the addition to the existing purchase order, which means there are three lines. So I wanted to add as a fourth line. So I can say existing purchase order. But this requisition or this purchase order we are creating for the first time. So I'll say this as a new order. Okay, and then we have the style. So style is nothing but what kind of document that we are creating. Okay, so this is purchase order. So I'll just say purchase order. So this is what I was referring to, that is supplier name that we can give it when we convert this requisition into purchase order. Okay. So since we have already given it in the screen in the requisition, so it has populated automatically. But if I am not giving it here, so I'll have to give it here. Okay. When I try to create the purchase order. So I'll just say okay, and here if you see, so I have the informations populated, so which will basically create the purchase order. So I'll say create. If I want to probably look at some information and edit it, so I can say edit. Or if I don't want this purchase, I mean this requisition to be created as purchase order, so simply I can say clear. Okay, so return is different from clear because return is something that we are returning this request, but clear is something that clearing it from the screen. So probably I can come back and again do this process. So that's the difference between clear and returning this purchase order. Okay. Yeah, so this purchase order is created and this is the purchase order number. Okay. So now this purchase order will go through the normal rules that we have written. Okay. Because the rule that we have written is basically for the with approval group we have written it for purchase order. Okay, so that's the one that we are going to use for this, because this one, that is supervisory approval, so we have seen it for requisition. So it's the same process that we are going to do it for purchase order as well. So I'm not doing that again. Okay, so for now I'll use the existing purchase order approval hierarchy which we have defined. Okay, so I'll just say okay and create this purchase order in the system. Okay, so earlier when we create this purchase order, if you remember, so we did not have this requisition number, but then here if you see, we will have this requisition number. And also, so these transactions are probably the interlinked thing. So wherein if I want to view my requisition or probably what my executive from the production department has raised for, if I want to look at in terms of actual requisition. So I can click this requisition number, so which will take us to the requisition screen. So wherein we can basically see those information. What are the details that has been requested? Okay, so it's the same thing. So I'll just say done, and if we come down, so the other details are same. So which we entered it manually, but then here system will create everything for us. Okay, so all we'll have to do is that just save and submit this. Okay, so now this will be submitted for approval. So once this is approved, so then the regular invoice processing. Yeah, before that we'll have to create the receipt. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think it is 11. Uh,
Yeah.
so,
We'll,
okay.
sorry. So we'll meet tomorrow, Arun.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Mm. We'll
Yeah,
continue from here on.
yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Arun.
Yeah, thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks.